I think I shaved a little earlier than I had to, but for me, I just wanted to face it. It felt like I wasn't facing something as opposed to just patching it up when I was doing like the hair product. We still gonna look in the mirror and feel weird, even while I'm putting the product on. I think I was noticing that I'm still looking at it every day. I was just still hyper focused. Wait, this kind of defeats the purpose of using it if I'm still gonna be hyper focused on this thing. Yeah, so my name is Kari, alternative hip hop rapper. I live in LA now. I pride myself in making music that's very true to me. I share my experiences and I'm really like detailed and honest. Growing up, I always sort of had like a big forehead, and then all the dudes on my mom's side were bald, dad's bald. So I was like, oh, this is coming at some point. I started, everyone plays the hat game. And then I had dreads for a while, which was cool. It's flowing down, so it just felt different. In 2019, I cut all my dreads off and just started growing out the top again. I didn't realize it until the pandemic that like I was kind of carrying this weight with it. At the beginning, I was trying to like hymns, I was trying to like little products. They were working everything, but something about it just felt not me. I was just like, do I really want to use this every day for the rest of my life? And I felt like whether my fans knew or noticed, I felt like I was kind of not projecting myself the way I normally do. And I could feel that it was bothering me inside. As I got better at music and was building a little fan base off of that. And then in 2016, I dropped a mixtape called Intern Aquarium that kind of took off a little bit online. That really kickstarted everything. During that year, I did a lot of label meetings, flew out to LA and a bunch of shows. I was like, I'm going to sign, I'm doing all these meetings.
Music's going well, you're building on that. What's your relationship like with yourself?
That era when I dropped that first project that blew up a little bit, a lot of confidence, like full confidence, and things are moving. 2 years later, I dropped a project that didn't do as well. And I think during that time, barriers to these darker things that I felt inside started to open up a bit more. I think there's like a sort of confident loss when you come off this high.
Do you remember the moment that you noticed, I think I'm actually losing my hair here?
I just always knew it was bound to happen. A lot of things in life were happening at the same time. And that was just something that just piled on to me. I was just thinking about so much. So this became more apparent in my head. Early 20s, I used to have like the side shaved and have a lot on top. So it like pushed forward. I never really noticed it that much. And then the dreads probably showed it more. And as my dreads got bigger, that's probably when I noticed it more. The thing that made me really or take note was essentially when the pandemic first started, like I took like 3 months off from drinking. I wasn't hanging out with anyone, wasn't talking to any girls. I was just really hyper focused on myself and working on my self-image. I was working out more. And I was like, all right, cool. Since I'm doing all this image stuff, let me see how I would feel if I tried hair products. Not like in a dark way. It was more so just I was really focused on my self-image at that time. If I wanted to change how I felt inside, I felt like I needed to do something outwardly and just change how I see myself on a daily basis. All right, let me see what Hims is like, and let me see what other products like that were like.
Tell me a little bit about your experience with them.
Other than having to put it on every day, it wasn't too bad. Worked, which I'm not against any of that. How I like to present myself. Something about it just didn't feel authentic me. It felt like I was doing it to combat some insecurity deep inside of me instead of dealing with the insecurity. Hat game was crazy. I'd grown out like my beard and it was like really scruffy. Subconsciously went for this like don't look like I care look to kind of hide in it. Upward angle photos.
Did you feel self-conscious and stuff in certain moments?
I think for me, it's just like when I would look back at pictures, my head would just super focus. First thing I saw. With women, it wasn't quite a thing to me, but I mean, I think that inner insecurity that's kind of just lingering there. I'm sure it played into my attitude with talking to women or being out, because I did notice once I shaved and I was out last year in the summer and just meeting girls and stuff while things were open. I was just me. Like the cool thing of seeing it after is maybe it's something I didn't realize while I was going through it, but seeing the difference of when I went out after had been shaved for like 9 months and had somewhat just accepted this is just me now. My interactions with women and being on dates were a lot smoother, and just being around people in general were a lot smoother. I had a friend who used to always say like, yo, bro, man, you look great. Why do you keep wearing this hat all the time and stuff like that? You look like a kid. And now that I'm like a little bit older, I get to embrace being that as opposed to wearing this hat that I don't even really want to wear because I felt weird about it or trying to cover up in some direction. But I think the main thing is just that, like, mainly it was just like a subconscious feeling of not feeling complete or not feeling myself 100%, even if I on songs outwardly projected it, or even if when I perform I outwardly projected it.
Right.
There's still like a little piece of me that just felt not myself, especially in music. It's generally looked at as a young person's game. And in my head, partially, I thought like, oh, this would just make me look really old or make my fans less interested because they knew me for having dreads, which, you know, like when I first shaved, there were comments like, yo, go back to the dreads and all this. And granted, like, I think I shaved a little earlier than I had to. But for me, I just wanted to face it. It felt like I wasn't facing something as opposed to just patching it up when I was doing like the hair product. And that was only like a 3-month period. It was pretty heavy in my mind. Now that we're talking about it, I'm like, I completely forgot about that component of it because I mean, at that time, it's like I was also turning 29, going back to that project not working out and me overthinking everything at that point. That was just another layer on top of it. Like I know rappers who started off bald, knew like that's just what people expected from them. So there wasn't like a transition later because they've been bald since like 21. But for me, in the midst of changing my sound a bit, in the midst of growing as a person, I changed the way I approach the industry in the past year. But back then, I was still trying to play by industry rules and thinking maybe I get signed, maybe I do all this. And once I shifted my mind state from that to like, I'm just going to do it my way, it became acceptable. But I don't think since I hadn't accepted that yet, it just further added to the insecurity of things, which is kind of funny in hindsight because like the music is what people are there for. You create all these like extra reasons for like why things don't, but the music's what people are there for. If the music's dope, that's gonna shine, and that's where I've arrived today. I was doing these online live performances, and I was like, oh, okay, a way I can promote this is by shaving it live on stream. I literally did it on live stream. It was my birthday was coming up. I was just like, all right, I'm about to just do this. It's time. I just felt ready. I don't know what it was. I just kind of felt ready. I just didn't care. A lot of things just happened at the same time that just like made me feel like, bro, what are we doing, man? You're about to, I was turning 29. It's like, yo, we're about to be 30 soon. Are we still gonna do this? Like, is this, we still gonna look in the mirror and feel weird? Even while I'm putting the product on, I'm still like, I think I was noticing that I'm still looking at it every day. You know, to see if it grows. Like I was just still hyper focused, and I was like, wait, this kind of defeats the purpose of using it if I'm still going to be hyper focused on this thing. So immediately after, I felt fine. I felt great.
I look cool as shit.
And then maybe like a month later, 2 months later, it's like, okay, did you really did this? And it's those feelings are starting to creep back in. And I think I did try the products again for like a month or so at some point when I was overthinking it. And then I stopped doing that. That's when I started to accept it, I would say. Like that first 3 months period, there was days where I was like, all right, cool, I look great now. I was still wearing a hat sometimes, whatever. Once I completely was just like, I'm not doing the hair products or anything like that, I started to feel better in general because it just sunk in. It was still kind of this battle of like, is this it? Am I gonna completely accept this? Like, because I could still go back to the product. It's still like, there was this weird in-between period in which it still hadn't quite hit.
What helped you get through that?
I think for me, a big thing was figuring out how I want to dress. And I spent a lot of last year figuring out what clothes look good on me. At some point, I went to a barber and he brought this down lower than I wanted him to. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And I cut the sides off and I stopped going all the way up, figuring out the beard, figuring out how I looked and putting time into that so that I could be more comfortable with myself. Figuring out a look for yourself is important. And doing that is really kind of what
helps you?
Helped me along the way. I'm super honest in my music. So me just, all right, guys, I'm bald now, works because I'm super honest with my music. Not saying that that's the only way it could work, but I think for me, it's been an easier transition because I'm not trying to be Machine Gun Kelly or I'm not trying to be Drake. Granted, there are big artists who are bald, and in the 90s, it was a fashion thing. Like it all just comes down to how you see yourself. There's preference, you know, like there's girls who aren't gonna be into bald dudes, there's girls who aren't gonna be into short dudes, there's girls who aren't gonna be into whatever. I think it's important to, not everything's for you, you know, and the things that aren't for you. Stay true to whatever you're trying to be. It's crazy to me how much we care about these kind of things. And then like there's someone who lives in my building the other day who is in a wheelchair, like was probably born deformed. And I'm like, what am I, what is it? Like, what am I mad about? Or what am I insecure? Not to say you're not valid for having those feelings, but all this is temporary. We're here for a limited amount of time. Are you gonna spend most of your time worried about your forehead, your career in your forehead, girls in your like your ball? Like it's all temporary, and that's the biggest thing that came from me from shaving it was just, oh, I'm still here. I'm still a person, still alive, still breathing. There's times when I wish I had my hair back. There's times when I'm feeling myself more than I ever did. Taking ownership of something that's always been a fear. Once I shaved the shit, I just felt free, felt free. I felt into myself again for the first time in a long fucking time.
I got no money, cause I spent my 20s getting drunk in New York City with a whole lot of nothing. I mean, I got some memories, got some friends, got some company, but I still got a demon left to battle in front of me. Where does my story go? How does my hero win? Or am I just a villain that be spitting that heroin? Monkeys in a barrel, we in peril, a sudden end. America's a perilous...